السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على حي على الفلاح حي على الله أكبر الله أكبر. لا إله إلا الله.
إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا. من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له، وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له، وأشهد أن محمدًا عبده ورسوله. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء، واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحم إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا. أما بعد. We begin in the name of Allah, the Most High, the Most Gracious, the one to whom belongs all praise and all thanks. We seek His assistance, we ask Him for His guidance, we beg Him for His forgiveness. We seek refuge in Allah from the evil that is within us, and we seek refuge in Allah from the consequences of our evil deeds. Whomsoever Allah guides, no one can lead astray, and whomsoever Allah allows to stray, none can guide. I bear witness that there is no being worthy of worship except Allah alone, the one true God, without any partners, and I bear witness that Muhammad ibn Abdullah is His servant and His final messenger. We ask Allah to bless and protect His last and final prophet, his family, his companions, and those who follow his way until the end of time. Some time ago I heard of a story where there was a couple and they had a young daughter, 5 or 6 years old. And she became sick, and when they took her to the doctors and they ran tests, the doctors eventually told the parents that their child was terminally ill. And the parents, as difficult as this information was, they accepted it. They understood that it was the decree of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The doctors told the parents that their daughter had just a short amount of time to live. They would take their daughter to the hospital, back and forth between the hospital and home. Towards the end of her life, she spent most of it in the hospital. And one night when the parents were home, they got a call from the hospital that you should come now. We think she's going to pass very soon. And when the parents came, the daughter passed shortly afterwards. Now when the daughter passed, the two parents, they fell into prostration. And the nurse, when she saw this, she was perplexed, confused. What's going on? What are these two parents doing? So when the nurse inquired from the parents why they had gone into prostration, the parents said to the nurse that we're thanking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for allowing us to be the parents of this child for 5 or 6 years. That through the blessing and the mercy and the grace and the kindness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He allowed us to enjoy her. For these short few years, we got to feed her. We got to take care of her. We got to change her clothes. When she was happy and laughing, we got to share in those moments. When she was crying and sad, we were the ones whose shoulder that she would lean on. We're grateful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He blessed us with her for a period of time. Why I begin with this? Because it's a reminder that our time with our loved ones is finite. It's a limited time. It's not an unlimited time. It's literally sand falling through an hourglass. Ask yourself, what if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala today took one of your parents, or tomorrow took one of your children, or next week took your spouse? Do we live with the knowledge, do we live with the reality that at any moment Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can take one of our loved ones? The reality is many of us don't. And because we don't, we always prioritize things in front of our loved ones. We always give up time with our spouse, our parent, our child, our sibling, because we think they will always be there. But the reality is that person, that spouse, that sibling, that child, that parent is an amana from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That person is a trust that Allah has given you. That person is on loan to you from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And at any moment, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can take that person. See, I mentioned it's literally like sand falling through an hourglass. All of our lives are like that. Sand falling through an hourglass. The reality is, I don't know how much sand is left in my life. You don't know how much sand is left in your life. And we don't know how much sand is left in the life of our loved ones. You know, the Prophet ﷺ, when someone would pass away, he would give condolences. And from the phrases that he would say when he was giving condolences, Inna lillahi ma akhadh wa lahu ma a'ta. That indeed to Allah belongs whatever it is that He has taken. Wa lahu ma a'ta. And to Him belongs whatever He has given. Wa kullu shay'in indahu bi ajalin musamma. And every single thing has an appointed time with Him. You and I don't know that appointed time. But that appointed time is already set. That appointed time has been decreed and written before we were even created. I want to focus on 3 relationships. The first relationship is between spouses. Husbands with their wives and wives with their husbands. The second relationship parents with their children and children with their parents. And the third, siblings with one another. A brother with his brother, a brother with his sister, a sister with her brother. There are other relationships, other family relationships. But these three are the core relationships. Spouses, parents and children, and siblings. And we're at that time of the year right now where perhaps many of us are going to spend a little more time with our family members. Because we have a few days off from work. We're going to go travel and see some siblings. We'll go travel and see our parents. We'll go travel and see our children. Or we'll just spend a little more time at home with our spouses. 5 lessons or 5 keys to improving these relationships. Number 1, be intentional. We know in a famous hadith, the Prophet ﷺ, he said, إِنَّمَا الْأَعْمَالُ بِالنِّيَّاتِ, that indeed actions are by intentions. That relationship with that person, that spouse, that parent, that child, that sibling, that relationship is ibadah. It's worship. That person, how we deal with them, that person is our path to Allah. Every time we're gentle with them, every time we're kind to them, every time they ask me for help, and I help them, when I'm supportive, when I clean the house, if I have a young child and I change their clothes, I change their diapers. When they say they just want to talk, and they want to tell you a story that's going nowhere, that has no benefit, that has no point. But you're intentional, you're like, I'm going to sit here, I'm going to give this person the time. Yes, because they're important, but also me listening to this story that I may consider pointless or not beneficial, this is my ibadah. When I'm patient with this person, whether it's my child or my parent or my spouse, when I'm forgiving, when I overlook their faults, being intentional, it changes the flavor of daily life. It reminds us of our purpose, it reminds us of our goal. This is not just me being kind to my spouse or my child or my parent. This is one of the greatest ways in how I worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. How I earn His pleasure. If I'm supported for them. If when they need help, I'm there for them. This is when your child asks you for help because they want to put a puzzle together. Or when your parent asks you for help to do a chore around the house, to take out the trash. When your spouse asks you to help them tidy up, to clean the house. Or your spouse is working on a project and you help them. Or your sibling is going through something and they're moving from one house to another. Or they just need a shoulder to lean on, a person to call to. That in itself is ibadah. So in your relationships, number 1, be intentional. Number 2, embrace gratitude. Embrace shukr. Because when we embrace gratitude, what it does, it magnifies what we already have. When we embrace gratitude, it helps us realize how blessed we are. There's so many people that don't have what I have. There's so many people that don't have what you have. Perhaps your parents are still alive. There are people amongst us that their parents are no longer alive. Perhaps Allah has blessed you with a spouse. There are others who don't have spouses. The same could be said about children. The same could be said about siblings. The problem is so many times we look at these relationships with a very critical eye. We look at the failures, the deficiencies, the shortcomings, how it could have been, how it should have been. I wish my children were like this. I wish my parents were like this. I wish my spouse was like this. Much of our unhappiness is because we're focusing constantly on what we don't have. And we're not focusing on what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has blessed us with. We need a shift in our perspective to actually see what is in front of us. Look at your loved one with the eye of gratitude. Story a few months ago or about a year ago, an imam in another state, he told all the brothers after Salat al-Fajr, he said, I want you to all take out your phones, all the married brothers, take out your phones. And I want all of you to text your wife, I love you. So they all got out their phones, they all texted their wives, I love you. And then he told them that as their responses come in, I want you to tell me what their responses were. So that following night or the next day at night, after a certain prayer, he addressed his congregation. And he said, I told you after Fajr to text your wives, I love you. And now I want you to know what some of the responses were. So there was that small minority, that small group of wives who texted back, I love you too. But the majority of responses were, who is this? Please give the phone back to my husband. Are you okay? Why? Because sometimes the people that we love the most, that we cherish the most, we simply forget to tell them, I love you so much. You mean so much to me. I appreciate you. If you have a child, what's the last time you told them, not just I love you, but I appreciate you. I care for you. I saw this little video that was going viral. It was parents that were kind of experimenting on their children in a good way. And they were recording. And they would go to their children and they would record it. And they would say, so and so, I love you. You mean the world to me. And they would just continue with these statements. I appreciate you. I'm so happy that I get to share in your moments of joy. I'm so happy that when you're sad, you come to me and no one else. I don't know what my life would be like without you. And parents were recording this, and these young children of different ages, their eyes became filled with tears. They became emotional. They stopped whatever they were doing. And in many of these videos, the children were on an iPad or doing some type of thing that was occupying their time. And a few statements in, the child would realize, hold up, what's going on? This is different. They would put it down. Their eyes would become filled with tears and they would go running to their parents and hug that parent. When we embrace gratitude, this is what our relationships can look like. You know, when we show our loved ones, whether it's our sibling or our spouse or our parent or our child, when we show them that we care for them, they will be willing to go the extra mile to make us happy. But when we're constantly critical, they're going to internalize that whatever they do, they'll never make you happy. Whether you're the spouse, the parent, or the sibling. But when we show them we care, that they mean something to us, we will motivate them, inspire them to be a better person, to do the things that we think they're falling short in. Feel the barakah of what you have. Appreciate what you have. We said number 1 was be intentional. Number 2 was embrace gratitude. Number 3, be akhirah focused. What do I mean by be akhirah focused? This dunya is a deception. Every single one of us, or the majority of us, the overwhelming majority of us, simply just wants more. When we think about these relationships, the people that are closest to us, these people that Allah has put in our lives as an amana, as a trust, we think about these relationships as not just family relationships, not just as the people that are closest to us, but we think about them as an investment in our akhirah. Just like I mentioned, when we embrace gratitude, they'll be willing to go further to please us. When we think about it as an investment in our akhirah, we will be willing to go further to please them. We will be willing to go further to make them happy, to ensure that they are pleased with us. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us of those that cherish our loved ones, that take care of them, that love them, that show them the compassion and the care that they deserve. أقول ما تسمعون واستغفر الله لي ولكم ولسائر المسلمين من كل ذنب فاستغفروه إنه هو الغفور الرحيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين نحمده سبحانه وتعالى حمد الشاكرين ونستغفره استغفار المذنبين المقصرين ونصلي ونسلم على خير خلق الله وعلى آله وأصحابه ومن استنى بسنته إلى يوم الدين. We're talking about keys to having successful relationships with our loved ones. We said be intentional, embrace gratitude, be akhirah focused. I'll mention two more very quickly. Number 4, be realistic. No one is perfect, that's the reality. Not even us. Even though sometimes we look in the mirror and we think that there's no one better than me. There's no one more perfect than me. Only if my spouse could be more like me. And when we do that, we're just not being honest with ourselves. Don't have a false image of relationships. Sometimes we see relationships on TV or we hear of certain relationships. That is that person's relationship. Wherever you see it, that's not the relationship that Allah has given you. Your relationship with your child, with your parent, with your sibling, with your spouse is specific to you. Embrace that relationship. Realize that that is your reality. And make that reality your happiness. Be realistic. Don't set the bar too high. Sometimes parents, for their children, they want good. They intend good. But because of that, they set the bar too high. They have these unrealistic expectations. I heard a story a few weeks ago. A father, he wanted his daughter to pursue a particular career, a particular major. The daughter didn't want it. She tried. She tried for a year or so. She was getting good grades. But after some time, she realized something she already knew. Her heart was not into this. So she went and told her father, she said, I can't do this. This is not what I want to do. This is not the career path that I want. So her father said, if you don't do this, I'm going to get you married as a punishment. Within a few days, she ran away from home. Parents came to the Imam, eyes full of tears, faces full of grief and sadness. They said, our daughter ran away. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect all of us. But these situations exist in our community. Be hopeful, aim high, but at the same time be realistic. Manage your expectations. Lower the wing of humility and mercy. You know, one of the greatest women from this ummah is our mother Aisha radiallahu anha. When there was a specific incident in the seerah known as Hadithatul Ifk, the slander of Aisha, a rumor spread about Aisha radiallahu anha that she had committed an act of immorality. It was a rumor. And the news began to spread. The Prophet ﷺ was hearing it more and more. So he began to consult some of the people that were closest to him and what they thought about Aisha, what was their opinion about Aisha, the type of person that she was. And one of the people that was consulted was a servant inside the house, a female servant inside the house of the Messenger of Allah ﷺ. And when she's asked, when she's questioned about Aisha radiallahu anha, she speaks well. And then she says, you know, there's one thing about her. Sometimes she kind of puts food on the stove and then she just forgets about it. So the food gets ruined. Now I started by saying that this is one of the greatest women that ever walked the face of the earth. This is our mother, the one who memorized so many ahadith. She had the ability to memorize so many ahadith and teach them to the next generation. Yet, sometimes she would put food on the stove and she would forget. It sounds so basic, like how? How could you forget? But at the same time, you narrate thousands of hadith. Because we're all humans. We all have faults. We all make mistakes. We all forget. Aim high, but at the same time be realistic. The last thing that I'll mention, remember death. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says, كُلُّ نَفْسٍ ذَائِقَةُ الْمَوْتِ, that every single soul will taste death. Many times when we hear this, we apply this to ourselves as a reminder for ourselves, which it is. Prophet ﷺ, he said, أَكْثِرُوا مِن ذِكْرِ هَذِهِ مِن اللَّذَّاتِ, frequently remember the destroyer of pleasures. But it's not just a reminder for ourselves. It's a reminder that that person that's in my life, that person, their sand may be running out. And we have basically two options. One is when that sand runs out and we attend that loved one's janazah, we're thankful to Allah. Oh Allah, you blessed me to live with this person for X amount of years, and they were the best years of my life. And I enjoyed them, and I cherished them. That's option one. Option two is that sand runs out, and you stand over their grave, and you say, if only I could go back. If only we had not cut each other off for so many years. If only I spent more time with them. Those are basically the two options. We have situations in our community, in every single Muslim community, where a sibling hasn't spoken to another sibling for X amount of years, where a child hasn't spoken to a parent or a parent hasn't spoken to a child. Forgive, overlook all of that. Be intentional. This is ibadah. Embrace gratitude. Be thankful for their presence. Be akhirah focused. This is an investment in your akhirah. Be realistic in that relationship. And remember death. Because the people that are closest to us, there is a possibility that they may not be there tomorrow. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to protect us and our loved ones. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to bless us with the most beautiful manners and characteristics. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to allow us to cherish our loved ones and to care for them and to express love and gratitude to them. اللهم اهدنا لأحسن الأخلاق لا يهدي لأحسنها إلا أنت واصرف عنا سيئها ولا يصرف عنا سيئها إلا أنت ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار اللهم أصلح لنا شأننا كله ولا تكلنا إلى أنفسنا طرفة عين اللهم فرج هم المهمومين ونفس كرب المكروبين وقض الدين عن المدينين واشف مرضانا ومرضى المسلمين وارحم موتانا وموتى المسلمين ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وتب علينا يا مولانا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم وصل اللهم على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم.
الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمد رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله.
Still, استقيموا, straighten the lines, close the gaps, make sure the line in front of you is completely filled. Allahu Akbar. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. إن
الذين قالوا ربنا الله ثم استقاموا فلا خوف عليهم ولا هم يحزنون أولئك أصحاب الجنة خالدين فيها جزاء بما كانوا يعملون ووصينا الإنسان بوالديه إحسانا حملته أمه كرها ووضعته كرها وحمله وفصاله 30 شهرا حتى إذا بلغ أشده وبلغ 40 سنة قال رب أوزعني أن أشكر نعمتك التي أنعمت علي وعلى والدي وأن أعمل صالحا ترضاه وأصلح لي في ذريتي إني تبت إليك وإني من المسلمين أولئك الذين نتقبل عنهم أحسن ما عملوا ونتجاوز عن سيئاتهم في أصحاب الجنة وعد الصدق الذي كانوا يوعدون. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. والذي قال لوالديه أف لكما أتعدانني أن أخرج وقد خلت القرون من قبلي وهما يستغيثان الله ويلك آمن إن وعد الله حق فيقول ما هذا إلا أساطير الأولين. أولئك الذين حق عليهم القول في قد خلت من قبلهم من الجن والإنس إنهم كانوا خاسرين. ولكل درجات مما عملوا وليوفيهم أعمالهم وهم لا يظلمون. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. A message to Shaykh Billoo. We love you and your message. Alhamdulillah. We know about COVID, so please, if you can, seniors, I suggest wear masks, inshallah. And tonight, we have a couple of programs. So the kids are going to Knott's Berry Farm. This is our youth, high school kids and college. So if you are interested, please get a hold of one of the youth members. Talking about youth member, Murad, if you are sitting somewhere, please can you come join me? Tonight at 6, today we have elementary kids and middle school kids. It's game night for them. And December 23rd, Dr. Jihad Safir will be here discussing adolescent identity development at 7 o'clock in the evening at the masjid. I would like, we have a talk on outside. We have a table from Halal Financing. If you're interested, please go talk to Lareba people. And please pray for Brother Yusuf Kisani. He is 19, going through surgery, battling cancer since he was 16 years old. May Allah give him full recovery, inshallah. And please pray for Muhammad Tariq, passed away. And this Sunday, if you're interested, at the masjid, we will be showing the soccer game, the final, and you're all welcome. We might have some breakfast for you. And I would like to introduce one of our youths, Brother Murad here, and he would like to talk to you for a minute. There we go.
Assalamu alaikum, everybody. So the youth group is doing a hygiene drive. Currently, we're looking for hygiene products to be donated in boxes outside in the main prayer area. We're looking for things like toothbrushes, toothpaste, combs, razors, feminine hygiene products, deodorant, lotions, body sprays, shampoo, and body wash. We ask that all products are brand new, and we're looking for donations. So if you're able to purchase them and bring them back next week, that'd be great, because we asked some of the folks in the community, and they were looking for these products. Okay, thank you.
When you got your stuff, when you got